Well, hello everybody and welcome. Thanks for watching. Today's video is going to be a little bit different than I planned on giving you. My plan was actually for us to take a video trip into Lavelle's Records and kind of flip through the new arrivals crates of the used records and see if we might find a gem or two. Well, actually it turns out I did, but I don't have that video of flipping through the cases because I don't know, leave it to me. Somehow I messed it up. We'll go through the crates next time on video. But to kick off the weekend with something, let's tell a story that's actually been requested a couple of times. I'm going to tell you guys the story of the Great Record Robbery of the 80s. All right, so let's take it back to probably around 1984, 83, somewhere around there. I'm living out of home, and since the mid 70s or so, since I was a teenager, I was buying records and building my record collection. I wasn't thinking of it like a record collection. I was simply thinking of buying all the music that I loved. Now, as I got into the 80s and I discovered punk rock, I was buying all the punk rock albums of the bands that I loved, you know, and all the early new wave stuff that was coming out. So I mean, name a band, you know, except for the most obscure, I probably had that album. You know, of course, I had all the big groups. I had the Cars and Blondie and the B-52s and the Psychedelic Furs, Susie and the Banshees, you know, all the new wavers like that. And then I had punks, you know, I had X and punk compilations and who had Bad Brains, a lot of debut albums of punk bands, you know. I had maybe 4 or 5 record crates full of albums. I used to store my records in crates back then, all right? So, one night I'm asleep in bed and I wake up and I'm hearing noises in the house. My bedroom was way down at the far end of the house, living room, family room at the opposite end. I wake up, I swear I hear noises in the front room. There's somebody in the house. There's people in the house. I wake up and I grab a baseball bat because I slept with a baseball bat. I still sleep with a weapon, mind you. And start coming down the hallway really slowly though, because I can hear sounds when I'm in the hallway, so it's confirmed that somebody's in the house. And to be honest with you, I really didn't want to have a confrontation with strangers, with burglars in my home, right? I didn't really want to have that happen. So I went down the hallway kind of slow. By the time I got to the end of the hallway, and by then I kind of stopped hearing sounds. And I peek into the room, nobody's in the living room, but the large sliding glass door open, record albums on the floor. I said, you know, somebody was in here. Went outside, went out in the back. At the time we had like a stone wall, cinder block stone wall that you could hop over. And on the other side of that, at the time, this was in Roland Heights where I was living. Correct me, this was in Walnut. I was living in Walnut. And at the time, behind us was actually just like some flat land with some cows. You know, some farmer had some land and he stowed cows on there. It wasn't a huge farm. It was just kind of like a flat land with grass, like a meadow, and he had cows on it. So anyway, that was behind our house, right on the other side of the cinder block wall. What ended up happening was somebody took about 2 record crates full of albums. They had time in my living room before I woke up and came down the hall. They had time to sort through those albums. How do I know? Because they left albums out. They left out like Madonna and Prince and Michael Jackson. They left those albums out. and they made sure that they went through my albums to pick out all the punk and all the new wave. Mostly all of that stuff gone. Now, final bit of the story is, I think to this day I know who did it. I don't know for sure, but there were a couple of neighborhood kids. We were all young at the time. I was, probably in my early 20s, 21, 22 maybe, and those guys, they were probably 17, 18 years old, but they were full on punk, had the mohawks and the whole bit. And they used to hang around our house all the time because we used to party a lot. I mean, we partied a lot back then. They went on for days, our parties, but that's a different story. At any rate, we had, a lot of people, strangers passing through the house. So strangers saw what we had. But this didn't seem like a random robbery. This was a targeted, focused hit to steal my punk and new wave albums. And I suspect one of those guys, one of those two friends that were like this, he took them. What was his nickname? Bandito. Does that seal the deal or what? To this day, I suspected Bandito took my albums. Confronted them. They denied it, of course. But after a while, he stopped hanging around and we stopped seeing him. And so to this day, I think he took all my albums. Quite a drag because I'm sure they were all like first pressings and a lot of stuff that's out of print that you can't even get nowadays. So I'm very sorry that stuff is gone. But that's the story of, ever since then, in my record collecting, I've been chasing a lot of the albums that I lost, trying to replace them. And I've been pretty successful to get a lot of them. But others, long gone, baby, long gone. That's the story of the great robbery, the great vinyl robbery of the 80s. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time, and we'll actually see some real albums in our next video. Peace. Except for you, Bandito. I know you frickin' took my albums.